Hi book lovers, welcome back to my channel. I am back with another seasonal TBR video. These are the books that I'm planning to read in the next few months, so December through February 2023. This is going to be my first 2023 TBR video. Of course, I have some winter reads, some Christmas holiday romances on this TBR. Even though I've already read like 5 Christmas romances already, I still want to read more, but I do want to share how I did with my fall TBR, which actually I did pretty well with. I had 16 books on it and I read all but 3 of them, which is probably the best that I've done so far. So I did not get to Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan, but I am pushing it to my winter TBR because it's going to be my book club's December pick, and we are going to be joined by Kennedy Ryan herself for that live. I did start Circling Back to You by Julie too, but I didn't manage to finish it just because I had too many books borrowed from my library that I decided to return this one and eventually borrow it back when I have more time to actually finish it. And Losers Part 1 by Harley LaRoux. This one I am also pushing to my winter TBR because Part 2 is going to come out in December and I want to just binge both parts. The highlights of fall were definitely What Was Meant to Be by QB Tyler. It was a very hot age gap forbidden romance between the heroine and her parents' best friend. King of Wrath by Anna Huang is one of my favorite reads this year. I loved it so much. It's such a good arranged marriage romance. When Gracie Met the Grunt wasn't like amazing, but I did enjoy it for what it was, which is a superhero romance. I was really disappointed though by a couple books. The Company of Fiends by Catherine Moon. I am so sad I didn't love this one because of how much I loved book 1, but this second book was way too long and way too boring. Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman was a little disappointing as well, just because I didn't love it as much as everyone else did. And It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover was very, very okay. There was so much hype for it, and I mean, I did love It Ends With Us, so I did have high hopes, but it didn't meet them. So let's finally jump into my winter TBR. I have another 16 books on this list. I don't know why 16 is my number, but like I mentioned earlier, Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan is on my TBR for December specifically, just because Kennedy Ryan is going to be joining us mid-ish December. We're still trying to figure out the date for the live, and we're going to be talking about her new release. This is a second chance romance between a formerly married couple. This is going to be Kennedy Ryan's true second chance romance, and they do share custody of their kids. I know it's gonna be super angsty and so romantic. I cannot wait to read this one. If you know me, you know how much I adore Kennedy Ryan and her writing. Every single time she blows me away. I did actually go to the Kennedy Ryan event at the Ripped Bodice a couple weeks ago, and that was so much fun. I got to see Kennedy Ryan again and give her like a big hug. She gives the best hugs. I also didn't want to read this book too early so that I could have the story fresh in my mind by the time we chat with Kennedy Ryan. And if you follow me and Jessica and our book club, Ravished by Romance, on Instagram, we are gonna give away a signed copy of the book. I'm also hoping to get to the new Tate James book, Heist. This is the first book in our new series, which is MF. It's not reverse harem, it's not poly, it's gonna be MF, but it's set in the same world as Madison Kate, as Hades, as the Guild trilogy. Heist is book 1 in the Balanchek series, and we were introduced to the hero in the Guild series, and I was very intrigued by him, so I'm definitely going to be reading this series. I just don't know if I want to wait until the whole series is out so I can read everything at once, because that's how I've experienced all the other series in this world, and it's so nice not having to wait and not having to experience these cliffhangers. So I don't really know. It'll depend on my mood whether I want to just dive in to Heist before the other 2 books are out. That being said, I do eventually want to get to it. The book itself is about this underworld game that the hero has won for like 5 years, or 5 times at least, and the heroine is his new competitor or something like that. It's pretty vague. I don't really know what this game is, but it is Tate James, so I will definitely be reading it. I do have a reverse harem on my TBR. It's Losers Part 1 and Part 2 by Harley LaRoux. I didn't get to Part 1 in the fall, so I'm gonna try to read it in winter, and the amazing thing is that the second book, the sequel, is gonna be out sometime during the winter, so I will be waiting until both parts are out before diving in. These books are the sequel to the Dare novella by Harley LaRoux. I didn't love it, but I do love the idea of turning that MF romance into a reverse harem series. I mean, there was an orgy in the Dare, but the clowns weren't actually love interests in that novella, but they are now. They're gonna be 4 heroes in Losers. I also really like Harley LaRoux's writing. I'm hoping the last book in her demon paranormal romance is also gonna come out in the winter, but probably not. I'm also planning to read In the Weeds by B.K. Borison. This is the second book in the Lovelight series. I just read book 1. It's one of the Christmas romances that I read and it was adorable, so I'm definitely gonna be continuing with this series. In the Weeds is somewhat of a second chance romance. The main characters had a one-night stand. They hooked up like I don't know how long ago, but then they reunite on the Lovelight farm. She's an influencer and he is one of the employees, and they do reunite in book 1, and there was some great tension between them. So I'm excited to read this one. My library actually got all 3 books in the series in audio, like literally at the same time, so I just borrowed them all. So I'll probably end up also reading the 3rd book, but I'm just gonna leave it at book 2 on this TBR to take the pressure off myself. I have a mafia romance on my TBR. This is Savage Hearts by J.T. Geissinger. It's book 3 in the Queens and Monsters series, and I loved book 2. Book 1 is okay, but I loved book 2, so I'm like, okay, fine. I will continue with the series. The hero is a Bratva assassin, which I am very here for. I don't know if he was introduced in the other 2 books. I don't remember. But the heroine here is the sister to the heroine from book 2, who I did love. It's a dark captive romance, which I am very intrigued by, and I'm just hoping that I'll like it like I liked book 2 and not how I felt about book 1. The new Ashley Herring Blake book is finally out, so I am hoping to be able to get to it soon. It's Ashton Parker Doesn't Fail, which is book 2 in the Brightfall series. It's the sequel to Delilah Green Doesn't Care. It is a standalone though. It's about Delilah's stepsister Astrid, who she didn't like much in the first book until towards the end. It's another FF romance. This time it is HGTV related. Astrid is the new designer on this popular HGTV show, and her heroine is the lead carpenter, and they do not get along. I'm really excited about this one. I enjoyed Delilah Green a lot. I really liked the author's writing there. I love the small town feels, but also how many emotions she was able to pack into that story, so I'm hoping I'll love this one too. And then I am going to hopefully get to Running Wild by K. Tucker soon. This is the last book that I need to read from my 5-star predictions of 2022 video. So once I read this one, I can finally do a recap on whether my 5-star predictions were right. But this is a standalone in the Simple Wild series. It's about a completely different couple. It's not Cal and Jonah anymore. As much as I love them and miss them, I am excited to read about a new couple. It's set in Alaska, and it's Marie's romance. Marie finally gets her romance. She was a side character in the first 2-3 books. She's a veterinarian, and the hero is a competitive musher, which is a very interesting job. Not something I've ever come across before in my romance books, but I'm looking forward to all the dogs here. And then for some upcoming romances, the first one that I have is The Lone Wolf's Rejected Mate by Kate C. Wells. Just because the main characters here, who are Mari and Derek, or however you pronounce his name, they were first introduced in book 1. They are mates. They know that they're each other's mates, but he pushes her away because of his lone wolf status. I can't wait for this one though. I was really hoping that this couple would be the couple in book 2, but we didn't get them. We have to wait for this 3rd book, and thankfully it is coming soon. It's coming out in December, so not too much of a wait. Also, if you couldn't tell from this cover and title, it is a paranormal romance, and these are wolf shifters. The new Sophie Lark book is coming soon. This is her fantasy romance, her very first fantasy romance. It's called Anastasia. I just got the arc for this one. I don't know if I'll get to it soon, but I will sometime in the next few months. I'm just really curious about her trying out a fantasy romance. I'm always curious when authors write in different genres or different subgenres. This is going to be an Anastasia retelling, of course, though I've never watched Anastasia, so I don't know, maybe I should right before reading this one. And then there's going to be a new Nikki Sloane. I've been waiting for a new Nikki Sloane for forever. It's going to be The Frat Boy, which is book 4 in the Nashville Neighborhood series. I actually still need to read book 3, The Architect, but I'm for some reason more excited about The Frat Boy. I did love the first 2 books though, don't get me wrong. It's a great series, but I just love how The Frat Boy sounds. It is a college romance and we do have a frat boy hero. It's enemies to lovers, it's rivals to lovers. Her sorority and his fraternity are rivals, but then something happens where they get kicked out of their houses and now they need money to be able to afford a place to stay. And the way that the heroine tries to earn this money is by answering an ad for an adult film company, and her new partner is none other than her rival. It sounds so freaking good and it's out in a week, so I'm definitely going to be planning to read it in December. And then another upcoming book that's out in 2023 is Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. This one I'm going to save for maybe more towards January after all the winter and holiday reads, but this is going to be Tessa Bailey's new book. Her first one, her first traditionally published one after the Bellinger Sisters series. It sounds so adorable. It's a grumpy sunshine romance. The hero is a very, very grumpy professor and he falls for his sunshiny neighbor, and the 2 of them knew each other when they were younger, when they lived in the same small town. And then for my holiday romances, I have 4 of them. This first one is a new release from Piper Rain, who I've actually never read before, but I saw she had a Christmas romance and my library had it, so I just borrowed it. It's called Single and Ready to Jingle. I do love Christmas titles like this. It's a brother's best friend romance. It's grumpy sunshine. He hates Christmas and she loves it. There's some forced proximity with the 2 of them making a deal to work with each other for their businesses during the holidays. It sounds super cute and fun, and I do love reading these kinds of Christmas romances where one character hates the holidays and the other one tries to make them fall in love with it. I also have Kiss Her Once for Me by Alison Cochran. This is an FF romance set around Christmas. The main characters met last Christmas Eve and fell in love in just one night, but somehow lost touch, and now a year later the heroine, she forms this marriage of convenience with her landlord, and his sister is none other than the woman that she fell in love with last Christmas. Here is another FF Christmas romance. This is Season of Love by Helena Greer. It sounds hilarious because one of the main characters is Jewish and her family runs a Christmas tree farm. The farm is unfortunately not doing so well, so now she has to work with the farm's grumpy manager to help fix it up. The cover, by the way, is so freaking adorable. There's a cute little cat at the bottom here, and of course the Christmas tree and the lights. And my final holiday read on my TBR is Drama King by Penny Reid. This is the 2nd book in the 3 Kings series. I loved book 1. That was another Christmas romance that released last December. That one was such a good holiday sports marriage of convenience romance. And then this time one of the side characters from book 1 gets his book. It's a stuck in a snowstorm together kind of winter read. They get stuck together on Christmas Eve. He is this Hollywood movie star and she is his new bodyguard, but right before she got hired they did go on a blind date together and hit it off really well. It sounds fantastic. I'm loving all these tropes and I do love to read another female bodyguard type of romance. And then my actual final book on this TBR is a book I forgot to include when I counted them up. So this is going to be my 17th book on this list. I just got the ARC today, which is why it slipped my mind, but if you can believe it, I got the ARC for Bitter Secrets by Mia Knight. Mia Knight is finally back. I have been waiting for the sequel for 3.5 years. Book 1, Bitter Heat, came out in 2019, early 2019, so it's been a hot minute, and the sequel is finally coming out sometime in December. She's planning on releasing it in December, but I love that first book so much. I've reread it a million times. I pretty much have it memorized by now, but it's a second chance romance between a formerly married couple. It's got some dark vibes, especially from the hero, and It is kind of wintry. These two get stuck in a snowstorm at the beginning of the book, but that's as wintry as it gets. And there is like an eventual marriage of convenience. It's so good though. I love Mia Nye and her writing, but I have waited for the sequel to that book for so long and it's finally here. So I will be reading this one as soon as I finish on my 2 current reads. I only have 20 minutes of my audio left and about 40% of the ebook that I'm reading. So I'm gonna get to it soon. But that is it for my winter TBR. I am so looking forward to all of these and hopefully I'll be able to get to them all. If you've read any of them, please let me know your thoughts. Links, as always, will be down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you all next time. Bye!